Assalamualaikum and salam sejahtera to Dr. Wan Nur Hayati. We are from Group 5, Class Management Accounting 1, Group 8. Today, we would like to present about the limitation in implementing activity-based costing. Before we start, my name is Dalila Amani binti Hamanasri with the matching number of 284610, and here are the group members for this project. In the classroom, activity-based costing looks like a great way to manage a company's limited resources, but many managers who have tried implementing FBC in their organization on any significant scale have abandoned the attempt in the face of rising costs and employee irritation. Thus, we are going to start with the first limitation in implementing activity-based costing, which would be the high setup cost incurred. The reason behind this is because the additional data must be collected and analyzed, so the process will become more longer and more expensive than others. ABC has numerous cost pools and multiple cost drivers, and therefore can be more complex than traditional product costing system. It can prove costly to manage ABC system. Secondly, activity-based costing requires management to estimate cost of activity pools and to identify measures these cost drivers to serve as allocation basis. Third, expensive to maintain. Okay, to justify more of this point, we shall see the example. Here is the difference between traditional costing and activity-based costing. Unlike traditional cost measurement system that depend on volume count, such as machine hour or direct labor hours to allocate indirect or overhead cost to products, the activity-based costing system classifies 5 broad levels of activity that are to a certain extent unrelated to how many units are produced. These levels include batch level activity, unit level activity, customer level activity, organization sustaining activity, and product level activity. ABC systems require management to estimate cost of activity pools and to identify and measure cost drivers to serve as allocation basis. Even basic ABC system require many calculations to determine cost of product and services. These measurements are costly, and activity cost rates also need to update it regularly. Furthermore, according to BKAM2013, the high setup costs are due to the considerable amount of time and effort spent by management in identifying cost drivers, as well as the need for additional accounting system to implement the system. Next limitation in implementing activity cost base will be time consuming due to lack of skill. The reason behind this is because first, the complexity of the process makes the decision-making process becomes more lengthy. Second, resistance from the management as managers are familiar to using traditional costing system to run their operation. And thirdly, activity-based costing data can easily be misinterpreted as there are huge amount of irrelevant data. To justify these points, we may take a look at this activity-based costing calculation. First, we need to identify all the activities required to create the product. Second, assign overhead cost to activity cost. Third, calculate activity rates. Fourth, assign overhead cost to cost object. And fifth, prepare management report. This step has demotivated the workers to implement activity-based costing because it takes much more time compared to other costing methods. Besides, it is very complex for managers to understand. Moving on, we shall see the case study by Soha and Chung on 1998. This study has been made by observing 2 companies which are manufacturing engineer in Melbourne, Australia, and specialty chemical company in Hong Kong, Thailand. They stated that a lack of skill necessitates the human resource department to provide extensive training to employees before implementing activity-based costing. Then, production workers were also concerned about the impact of ABC on their jobs. As a result, the project team member faced difficulties in collecting data from their employee. Furthermore, Sohal and Chen noted that the problem of time availability, particularly at the initial stage of ABC implementation, becomes quite severe when the key staff involved in the ABC project are also involved in other major tasks related to their daily work. Thus, many managers view ABC as a merely creating an additional work. Okay, and that's all from me. Thank you.
My name is Jungko Aiho. Let me continue with the following limitation of activity-based costing system. The first limitation of ABC that I'll introduce here is ABC system is not suitable for small manufacturing concerns. The reason why I would say so is because the level of technology and manufacturing environment prevailing in different firms, and it will also affect the application of ABC. The ABC have different level of utility for different organizations, such as large manufacturing firms can use it more usefully than the smaller firms. Also, it is likely that the firms which depending on cost plus pricing can take advantages from ABC as it gives accurate product costs. However, for those firms who use market-based prices may not favor by using the ABC. And in another aspect, if management is not thinking to use the ABC information, an absorption costing system may be simple to handle as it does not require too much information. ABC is too complicated as it requires many steps to implement this costing system properly. First step is to identification and classification of experiences. Second step is to be calculating the cost associated with each activity. Third step is to be determining the cost driver for activities. Then finally, the fourth step is cost allocation of experiences with cost driver to the goods. As according to the study from Basu and Hunt 1991, some companies that ask for the implementation of ABC forget the point that in this system, overhead is not just as regarded as part of the cost of production but analyzed in the context of the production process. In other words, these firms need to be aware of the fact that the implementation of ABC requires manager think tank, so as the production process for each stage is studied and analyzed. Therefore, this method is extremely not suitable for smaller firms with lesser experience. To the smaller firm extent, benefits of implementation of ABC is far less than the cost it takes. As in the conclusion here, the obligation to implement ABC is too strictly as this system requires a high level of precision regime which is not friendly to a smaller firm condition. The next limitation of this system is by the selection of the cost drivers. Some difficulties emerge in the implementation of ABC systems such as selection of cost drivers, assignment of common costs, varying cost driver rates, and else. Before making any useful decision to be based on ABC data, managers must identify which costs are really relevant for the decision at hand. Although ABC system does provide more accurate and better data than traditional costing method for managers and help them in making the right and appropriate decisions, but the study of Shabahan 2007 claimed that in the implementation of ABC, firms face three basic problems making the implementation of ABC system difficult. Therefore, if a company fails to resolve this problem properly, information obtained from ABC will not have the precision that was claimed either. One of these issues is the differences in the proportion of consumption of activity by products. Those overhead cost items are collected in a group that consume almost equally by each of the products. The remarkable thing is that if the ratio of consumption of activities by products varies in a pool, it will cause a distortion of product costs. Hence, it is hard to determine the selection of cost driver and the probability of this problem occurs in firms is not unexpected. That's all from me. Thank you.
Good day, Doctor. My name is Wong Xiao Ik. Now I will continue our group presentation about the limitation of activity-based costing, ABC. One of the limitations of activity-based costing is difficult to evaluate costs on the basis of activity. This is due to the reason that it is difficult to identify the overall activity that influences costs, and it is impossible to allocate all overhead costs to specific activity. Unless costs are originated by a real-time activity that is computable in quantitative terms and which can be related to production output, cost driver will not be working. For example, some overhead costs are complete to assign to specific activity, such as the salary or chef executive. These expenses are called business sustaining and not assigned to product and consumer because there is no meaningful way. The lump of unallocated overhead costs must nonetheless be met by participation from each of the products, but it is not as large as the overhead cost before activity-based costing is used. However, some may argue that costs undetectable to activity should be randomly allocated to product. It is significant to understand that the only purpose of ABC costing system is to provide information to administration. Third, there is no reason to assign any cost in a random manner. Additionally, according to the study by Todorowi et al. 2018, the bigger obstacle to the introduction of ABC system was the lack of practical experience and knowledge regarding this accounting system. Lack of practical experience and knowledge related to the ABC costing system will make it difficult for companies to use the system for cost allocation based on the activities. Additionally, according to the study by Todorowi et al. 2018, the bigger obstacle to the introduction of ABC system was the lack of practical experience and knowledge regarding this accounting system. Lack of practical experience and knowledge related to the ABC costing system will make it difficult for companies to use the system for cost allocation based on the activities. On the other hand, another limitation of activity-based costing is that not comply with generally accepted accounting principle (GAAP). Consequently, an organization involved in activity-based costing should have two cost systems in order to produce its report for internal and external purposes by using traditional and ABC costing systems both at a time. This is due to the reason that external reporting must be based on traditional exhaustion costing system. Exhaustion costing requires the traditional division between product cost and period cost, with inventory absorbing all of the manufacturing costs and none of the period costs. As a result, ABC costing system produce the report that are different from the profit and loss report produced through traditional costing system, and certainly different from those required under GAAP. It indicates that activity-based costing should not be used to prepare monthly and yearly profit statement. The study from Garrison et al. 2014 grant that, in contrast to traditional costing system that is binding in accordance with GAAP, running ABC is optional, also proved the limitation of ABC system. Therefore, activity-based costing is usually viewed as supplemental in nature. It is used for internal management decision-making, but it may not be suitable for public reporting because it results different material from exhaustion system. The fact that activity-based costing is not generally accepted accounting principle usually means that a company that wishes to benefit from activity-based costing must develop one costing system for external reporting and another one for internal management. That's all from me. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Nuada Ashiki Menjawama Azmi, and I will be talking about the next limitation of ABC costing, which is a lack of support from the top management. To use such a detailed process like ABC costing, it depends on the knowledge or resource availability that the company owns. Top management did not support fully on this costing method because it is require a large amount of technical resources and skills that they did not own. Even though ABC costing is a perfect method to calculate the right amount, for most companies, the top management feel that it is not significantly important to precisely have right, but rather to be almost right about the cost. That's why they like to stick with the traditional costing since it can cut costs and not time consuming. John Sarsu from Schenker Company stated that if the project of ABC will cost more than it produced, then the model is not worth the investment. Schenker Company is a former user of ABC costing method and now implementing a traditional costing in their company. This is because if Schenker invests in ABC and then the board of the director will refuses to implement the model, then all the money and effort Schenker takes will go to waste. ABC require complex data systems such as ABS to collect and record all cost information the system accumulates. This can lead to many additional costs since the company needs to send the workers to a training before they can implement the ABC costing method in their company. It takes so much time and can lead to problems to the company if they did not use it correctly. The top management rather focuses on other priorities in the firm as being more important than the ABC initiative or when ABC initiative is not aligned with the company strategy. ABB Company is an example of such company that expresses it clearly in the following sentence. It was because of complexity we did not continue use the model. ABB also a former ABC costing users, but they did not continue the costing because the model requires regular maintenance and the top management feel that it's too time consuming. As we can see from this, the lack of support from the top management is disadvantage for a company that try to test or use ABC because like any other changes, management has to make resource available for employees in order for them to start working with the model. That's all from me. Thank you.
But not least, one of the limitations of activity-based costing is difficult to implement. I will tell you in detail why it is very difficult in order to implement, especially among the companies. Implementing activity-based management has proven to be much more difficult for a significant number of companies. According to the estimate provided by Ness and Kokuza, less than 10% of these businesses are utilizing activity-based management in a significant number of components of the operational procedure. Another supporting reason why limitation of ABC is hard to implement when the problem is that the manager often do not regard activity-based management to be a serious organizational development effort. This is the root of the problem. Nonetheless, in the case, both Siler and Safety-Kleen were fully aware that the change of they were implementing was not their own accounting system, but rather to their respective organization. Ness and Kokuza, 1995, ladies and gentlemen. Furthermore, there is a resistance from a staff member is met during the ABC program just as it would be throughout any other organizational change program. There is an implication that working for ABC could be detrimental to their career at time. When they first implement the new ABC system, Safety-Kleen and Chesler quickly realized that of their employees were recruited to the change. There were expectations among some individuals that ABC might upset and pre-existing balance the power. There were some individuals did not appreciate ABC arrival and the great amount of the level they put in. This means that some of the workers also thinks that the ABC system or ABC activity-based costing is become a tremendous amount of work and most of the staff are against the ABC system.